Well, two extreme blogs. If you're new to the channel, have no fear, because John Woods is here. Hold on a second. Have no fear. Hold on a second. All right. What's going on, everybody? Extreme Blogs is here again. Welcome to the channel, Reckless Ritz, Jose, and Leslie. Hello to all of you. Marty, hello to you as well. And Jose says WrestleMania. This is not necessarily a WrestleMania video. This is a. I'm gonna also do NFL videos as well. I don't know if I'm gonna do every single round of the draft, but I'm gonna go through detailed about how I think that each of these picks will determine the future of these teams. But anyways, starting off red hot after yesterday's draft and everything. Try to switch the angle of the camera and everything. So, if you're new to the channel, have no fear, because John Woods is here, and I'm ready to direct you all from being amateur punk-ass wrestling fans into becoming wrestling fans that we can be proud about. NFL fans we can be proud about, that have desire, heart, passion, and energy to love watching the games and love to endorse the games. Jose says NKL draft. I think you meant NFL draft. Yes, the NFL draft was sort of last night. Round 1 happened. And now I'm going to be giving my live reaction, not necessarily live reaction to the actually everything that happened, but going pick by pick. And you guys can join in if you would like to. These are going to be different videos. I don't want to just rant on wrestling because eventually you run out of stuff to talk about. I talk about different kinds of things that happened in the NFL draft last night that were a little shocking, and if these picks are actually going to help the teams at all, or if they're just they're just being thrown into a loony bin. If they could change anything, okay? So let's get started right away. I don't know how long this video is actually going to be. The contest is still up. Help me out. Try to get a total of 50 likes or dislikes for the 2 videos. Yesterday's video, I think, got 23 altogether. So that means today we only need like 25 as well. Yes, Miss Marie, 3 quarterbacks were selected. They were selected by the Texans, the Chicago Bears, and by the Kansas City Chiefs. All 3 teams, I'll get into if those quarterbacks will help each team. I think the Chicago Bears made the biggest gamble, though, with everything. 4 or 5 picks away for their pick, Mr. Mitchell from North Carolina. So let's get into this exciting news. If you guys have any comments, and I will answer them ASAP. So the first pick in the draft went to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns selected a student from Texas A&M, Myles Garrett, who's a defensive end. Okay, so Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive ends currently in the NFL, and I personally believe with all my heart that Myles Garrett can do something to help the Cleveland Browns out. There's only one way to go for the Cleveland Browns. Last year they did awful, horrible, okay? They didn't do astounding numbers whatsoever. We're one of the most awkward position teams ever. They had some good, gifted athletes on their team. But most of the players that they had last year on their team are now traded away. And they picked up people like Kenny Britt for this upcoming year and stuff. but they have to focus more accordingly. Their quarterback situation is still a little bit of a scramble, but to have a good defense, you need a top component. Myles Garrett, a top component, a top defensive end. I'm thinking that right now, off the top of my head, most of the people that did their, fantasy picks about who they want to see get drafted to what team, most people actually selected Myles Garrett to go to them. And Marty says, thanks for subscribing to me yesterday. Not a problem. I appreciate you subscribing to my channel as well. So back to this. Myles Garrett is going to make the team a little more exciting, and they're actually going to win a few games this year. I don't know how many games I would actually set them behind to win. It all depends on how many other picks they get that are really good, that are really top candidates to be fighters, team players, pretty much. Now, I mean, last year, the Cowboys drafted some great picks. Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott. Most people thought that those two guys were just going to have an average team. If the Cleveland Browns play their games right, within the next few years, the Cleveland Browns will look like the Cowboys. They'll go make it, and they'll make it to the playoffs. They'll be a team that is endurance, and they go to the playoffs and do things that are really intelligent like. They have a lot of picks, and why is that? I've seen a lot of people say, why do the next year, It's strategically. They're not playing the stupid game where, of now. They're trying to build their team up for the future. And right now, the Cleveland Browns are still an awful team. They still do have good components and everything, but they still have to build everything around that unit alone. I am still behind the Cleveland Browns growing. So I would say 5 to 7 wins is probably going to be as good as they get this upcoming year. But that's better than what they were the year before. And they just need to continue building. Because if they do better, say they win 9 games this upcoming year at the highest, the playoffs. If the Cleveland Browns still do that well, even with as many picks as they're going to be getting already next year, they'll make a better team the following year. So in the year 2019, they're probably going to be one of the best teams in the NFL if they play their cards correctly. It's all about strategy here. So Top 3 says, hello. Welcome to the channel, Top 3. I'm glad to have you. So Myles Garrett definitely is a top guy for the Cleveland Browns. Number 2, oh my gosh, this right here flipped me really hard. I didn't necessarily know what to think or how to react to this because the Chicago Bears were originally set for number 3, but they were so worried that they were not going to get a quarterback. Now they just signed Mike Glennon to a multi-year contract for a lot of money to be their starting quarterback. Now Mike Glennon will probably be their starting quarterback this upcoming year, but to be totally honest with you, we're just going to have to wait and see how the cookie crumbles. The Bears basically traded. They were at number 3, then they went to number 2 because they traded with the 49ers. They traded 4 to 5 different trade positions. So basically 2 options. So everything that they traded to the 49ers for just this one person, for Mitchell Trubisky, okay? For this one position, for this one guy who's a quarterback from North Carolina, most people are not expecting a lot out of him. Most of the analysts that I look at are saying that Dak Prescott and Mitchell Turbo, you unsub from me. I did not unsub from you. Zombie Slayer, I don't think I unsubbed from you. I did. I'm going to subscribe back now, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. Nope, I'm still subscribed to you, man. Let me see. Yeah, I'm still subscribed to you, Zombie Slayer. I don't know what's going on there. Nope, I'm still subscribed to you. I don't know what's going on there. No idea. But yeah, I'm still subscribed to you. If you guys would, everybody who's watching this video, slap the big give me a big thumbs up for a little bit of encouragement. I'm going to be talking about football today. So anyways, the Chicago Bears, Mitchell from North Carolina, he sort of reminds me of Dak Prescott because he has a lot of people that are naysayers that are saying that he's not going to prevail, that he's not going to do well in his first year. And I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think if Mitchell does get the shot, just like Dak, he's going to be doing good things. He's going to be helping the Chicago Bears become a better team. But as of right now, I think that Michael Glennon is the guy that they should rely on for the first year, just for this first year. The second year, I would start Mitchell Trubisky, if I'm saying his name right, Trubisky, and I would start him, and I would have him be a guy who's helping molding the team together. And me personally, I don't necessarily think that Mitchell is a bad choice, but I think as many picks and as many trade options as the Bears did for the 49ers are going to look tremendously well because of this, which I'll get into their first pick next. But it's basically like, I mean, they traded all these things away for just Mitchell Trubisky, and it's a thing where, is that really going to benefit them in the near future? Is that going to be a thing that helps them succeed and exceed beyond limitations? Me personally, I think that this is going to hinder them this year. And at first, I was hoping and praying that they picked up a defensive person or a new wide, a little bit better than what they have now or something, because I'm a fan of Chicago. I want Chicago to thrive. I want Chicago to evolve and become better in everything that they do and transpire for. I don't know if I can, because as well as Mitchell is, and as well as they think that he's going to do this upcoming season, there's a slight chance that he may not be that good. So trading all of these elements away and trading all of these things for just him, which they traded 2 third-round picks, 2 sixth-round picks, and then a pick for next year. So I'm pretty sure it was like 5 picks total. From having 6 picks this year, the Chicago Bears, to having only 3 picks this year, sort of hurts them. So their 3 picks this year have to be just as good as their 6 picks combined. And me personally, I don't know if they can live up to that hostility. I don't know if they can live up to that hype. Zombie Slayer, not a problem anytime. So I am hopeful that for his first year as quarterback, but I'm thinking that in the future, the Chicago Bears are going to be one of the more successful teams because they're planning their future. And a lot of the analysts that I've watched today have actually been against the whole thing of saying that the Chicago Bears have the weakest quarterback out of all 3 that were drafted today or yesterday. All 3 that, and he's the weakest. I don't necessarily think he's the weakest, but I think that everything that was traded up for him was not necessarily the best situation. And Mitchell, as talented as Mitchell is, I think that he's a better. Now, some of them said they should go with a quarterback that is, a veteran quarterback. And I thought about this for a little second, for a few moments, and I was like, no, they shouldn't go with a veteran quarterback. They stuck with Jay Cutler for all of these years, and then all of a sudden you wanted to go back with a veteran quarterback just like Cutler? Screw that. You stuck with Jay Cutler for so many years. You do not need to go with a veteran quarterback. You need to go with your future. And going with the future is sort of the best thing to go in the past. Jay Cutler, Colin Kaepernick are 2 free agents. But no, do not go with any of the free agents that are veteran quarterbacks. Go with a young stud, a young stallion that can go out there and perform at a top level. Michael Glennon's also a young individual, but he's not near as young as Mitchell, obviously. But they're both quarterbacks that you can rely on for the future, hopefully. And I'm just speaking out of what I know about football. So since the Chicago Bears and 49ers traded, now the 49ers are pick number 3, and they chose Solomon Thomas from Stanford University, and he's a defensive end which is most certainly. The 49ers had last year one of the most dreadful and awful defensive lines I have ever seen. Offensively and defensively, horrible. Colin Kaepernick is not a bad quarterback. He just had a lot of bad press. And in doing that, everything hurt his momentum and hurt him long stay. So me personally, I want Colin Kaepernick to sign with the team just to be their backup quarterback. But that's probably not going to happen. Even now, as talented as Colin Kaepernick is, he is not necessarily the future of wrestling. He's not necessarily the future. See, I got my mindset still around football. 5,000. Is this football? Like real football or soccer? Yes, it's the NFL draft that I'm talking about, giving my opinions, thoughts about everything that's happened. If you would, give me a big thumbs up for a little bit of encouragement. Also, if you would like to subscribe for more content, you can definitely do that. I will check out your channel. I will subscribe to your channel. 5,000. I also got 9,000 now. Did you say quarterback or you take it from the back? Did you say quarterback or you take it from the back? I said quarterback. 5,000 says rugby is better. That's your opinion, your prerogative. I'm not from England. Some of my friends actually played rugby in college here in the United States. But since going into college, I was always more into football. Something different. But if you guys would like to subscribe for more content, most certainly check out the channel. Give me a big thumbs up for encouragement. I will check out your channels. I will subscribe. If you tell me that you subscribed, just do it, and I will do it live here on the NFL feed today. 49ers signing Solomon or drafting Solomon Thomas. This is a good pick. I think that then all Americans do is shoot each other. That's not true. Not true at all because, yeah. Jamie Cuttings, football, classic America is to copy the English game name. What? To copy the English. Whatever your product. I'm just here to go over the NFL. So, the draft. Okay. So anyways, back to this. I think the 49ers needed this kind of placement. They needed someone that was a top defensive guy that could go out there and that could conquer, that could develop a habit to make this team actually win some games and stop the quarterback on the other team. It doesn't matter what team they're playing. They need to have a player that goes out there and wins. Okay? So Solomon Thomas is another top defensive end. And actually, if you notice right now, let's see. Yeah, the first three players, you got defensive end, quarterback, defensive end. So most of the teams right now are trying to build their teams up for defensive ends. They're trying to make their teams more cunning and more reality watched. And I'm enjoying that. So Solomon Thomas is most certainly going to make the 49ers more watchable. And the 49ers are now, I think the 49ers this year are going to be a threat to the whole entire NFL due to everything that they're going to place into the NFL. So they picked up a lot of free agents this year, which was good, a lot of veterans, and they also have picked up Solomon Thomas and a couple others in the draft itself. So I mean, tonight I believe it's round 2 and 3, so it's going to be a fantastic time. All right. 9,000 says sidewalks are a retarded name for a path. Okay. Sorry, it's true. 5,000 says, where do you live in America? I live in Indiana. If you guys would, slap that like button up if you would. And also, Timothy Turner, right, 49ers going to have a good year, man. I don't know if necessarily a good year, but because they still have the Seattle Seahawks, who are Seattle Seahawks are going to be dominant. Arizona Cardinals, in my personal opinion, are not going to do as near as good as what people want them to do. And then the Rams, well, the Rams are probably going to be the worst of these. So they have to worry. The 49ers, if they do well with this whole draft, they're going to do well, okay? So they just need to worry about the Seattle Seahawks and then they'll go from there. Okay, because their quarterbacks are not too bad, but they can always improve. Things can always improve, and things can always become more intense and better. How many shootings happen in your area? None. None. I haven't had none. I'm not going to answer stupid questions like that. Draft number 4 was from the Jaguars. They drafted Leonard from LSU. Fournette. I'm very excited about this because right now, okay, so the Jaguars are a team. See, I'm from Indiana, so most people assume that I root for the Colts. I hate the freaking Colts. I do not like them. I do not enjoy them. I actually, every year, I root for them to be one of the worst teams. And sometimes they are. Sometimes they're a dominant team. But, that's besides the point. Are a team that are an odd team. They're like the Cleveland Browns in multiple different ways and fashion. They always suck. You can always root on the Jaguars to suck. This year that had so much momentum, has so much pride and everything like that. 9,000. I'm not answering your question. And you keep asking questions like that, I'm going to block you from the stream. So, and that goes for you too, 5,000. 5,000 says, "What's your opinion on the Miami Dolphins?" My opinion on the Miami Dolphins is simple. I think the Miami Dolphins have a lot of potential as after what they did last year. They were a team that had potential threat to go to the playoffs. They actually had shots to defeat the New England Patriots, who would become our Super Bowl winners that year. But I personally believe with all my heart that they just need to continue building their team. If they continue building their team with defensive players and make their team more cunning in that way, in that regard, they'll be a top team to worry about. And me personally, I wish the Dolphins all the best. But honestly, they always have to worry about the New England Patriots. They also have the Buffalo Bills, but the Buffalo Bills, we'll get to them in a second, but the Buffalo Bills just have so much guns. What's your opinion on the Orlando Magic? I'm not much of a basketball person, but Orlando Magic, they're an all right team. That's all I can really say about them. I think they're still in the playoffs, aren't they? So, anyways, the Jaguars drafting Leonard, running back, is fantastic because they need someone that's explosive that can make plays right away. Because if they don't have someone like that, who can they count on? Gabriel says, "Hi, welcome to the channel, Gabriel. I'm talking about NFL Night 1. So Leonard is a guy that the Jaguars can count on to make big plays, to make big moments, to do things that are different. He's also one of the fastest guys that at the compound that happened in Indianapolis. I'm excited about his future in Tampa Bay Jaguars. I'm hoping and praying that he continuously gets better. And hopefully this first year that he does things puts the Jaguars with a winning record at the end of the season, because you can always hope for the best for some certain team. Thinking that the first few picks here, the Browns will probably do better. The 49ers will definitely do better with Leonard. The Bears are a little bit of a iffy position because they're right in the mix. Okay, so a lot of people are going to think that the Bears are going to do awful. A lot of people are going to think that the Bears are going to do good, but it's all depending on what other picks the Bears actually draft, because the Browns have multiple other picks this year. The 49ers definitely have other picks this year. They have a lot more picks because what they did with the trade, what they did with the Bears. And now the Jaguars have about the same amount of picks too, 5 to 9, or not 5 to 9, 5 to 7 picks. Okay, so most certainly. The Tennessee Titans drafted Corey Davis from Western Michigan, wide receiver position. Needed to this. The Tennessee Titans. Can you give a shout out to my friend Clint Torres? That's a bad joke, buddy. That is a bad joke. What do you think of Cardinals? I'm not a baseball person, but if you're talking about that's not the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know who that is. If it's soccer, I'm not. I don't watch soccer. Sorry. Anyways, thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals? I'll get to the teams as I get to the in this video. But my thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals is pretty simple. Have a lot of hope going for them. They only lost one wide receiver this year, but I'm pretty sure in the draft they picked up someone else to replace him. Yeah, they picked up John Ross from Washington. So I'm pretty sure that the Cincinnati Bengals are still going to do very well. They're going to do a lot better than last year. Last year they had a lot of players and such. What is your opinion on the new gender? That haven't heard about that. All right, so we're going to see Titans. Good running back. They have now a good wide receiver, so I think, and they have a tremendous quarterback, Mariota. So I'm thinking that the Titans are going to do much better than they did last year. And they did trade for this position. Okay, so a lot of people are probably thinking, well, the Tennessee Titans, well, how did they get this? Well, originally it was Rams, and then they traded with the Rams, and they ended up with the 5th pick. So this is actually good for them. Okay, so they end up with Corey Davis, who's a top wide receiver, one of the better wide receivers out there. And Corey Davis is going to most certainly make the team look much better. And just Jacksonville Jaguars. Who's your favorite soccer team? I don't really have a favorite soccer team right at this moment. So I'm pretty excited and stoked for Davis as well in Tennessee, because he's a guy who makes plays, and he does impactful plays to make his team look good. Not only make his team look good, but have wins and do things from. Where are the Jaguars from? They're from Jacksonville. It's like asking the same question over and under again. So Corey Davis is most certainly going to make the Tennessee Titans look good. Does this make the Colts, Texans, Jaguars need to worry a little bit? Well, the Jaguars did draft a running back in Leonard, like I mentioned just a few moments ago, so their games will probably be pretty good. Who plays for the Jaguars? There's a lot of different teams. I mean, there's a lot of different players who play. Atheist for the Cause says, aren't you worried about Davis's lack of testing, though? Well, Corey Davis failed the drug test, too, because I know Roscoe, what's his name? Reuben Foster, he failed some drug tests as well, but I'm not exactly sure. I didn't think that Corey Davis failed any drug tests, but if you guys would like to slap that like button up you'd be most certainly up okay with that. Did the draft any running backs? Did the Jaguars draft? Yeah, I just said that. Jaguars drafted Leonard from LSU to be a running back for him. Let's see. 9,000 says, Jaguars are my favorite animal, so I want to know more, please. I mean, the Jaguars, they're not the best team, okay? Let me just say that. At this particular time, their record last year was awful. They had a lot of hope going into the season of last year, but then a lot of things fell through, and they never regrouped. But picking up someone like a Leonard, it sort of makes things much better. Okay. Atheist for the Cause says, Corey Davis had the ankle injury or anything. No, Corey Davis didn't. Okay, he didn't fail a drug test, but he is injured. Okay, since the Tennessee Titans, even though he is injured a little bit, well, pretty bad, with an ankle injury, and he didn't even run, I'm pretty sure that even with their top running back that they currently have, which is DeMarco Murray may be getting up there in age, but DeMarco Murray is still a fantastically gifted athlete that can still hold his own against some of the youngest guys running back-wise in the league. I'm thinking that will still be a factor in this whole thing. Corey Davis will probably still be a factor in the season, but since he hasn't had ankle surgery yet, and he he had the ankle surgery, so he didn't run anything. He probably will still compete, and I'm thinking that he will still be an impact player. He may not be a big impact player until next year, but that's all right. I mean, sometimes it takes a season or two to get adjusted. Let's see. 5,000 says, can you please say Jaguars in the English way, please? Jaguars. I mean, it's the same thing, pretty much. Timothy Turner says, how do you feel about Lynch, Marshawn Lynch coming back? Do you think he's going to do anything in, well, it's not in Oakland anymore. It's in Las Vegas. It's the Las Vegas Raiders now. Do I think that that's wrong? I don't care what you say, Mr. 5000. Mr. 5000, oh boy. Booty, 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 boo. All right, 5,000, you're gone. I'm sick and tired of your mouth. Okay. My subscribers do not want to hear things from you like that. Okay. So Timothy Turner, back to your question. What's my feelings on Marshawn Lynch coming out of retirement, leaving Seattle Seahawks and going to the new Los Angeles Raiders? I think this is a good move, but I also think it's a bad move because Marshawn Lynch has not competed in a few years, so maybe he has a little football field rust. I don't know exactly if he does or not. I'm not sure exactly if he stays in top conditioning. I don't know if he makes sure that everything's good and everything's on the top measure. But I want to say that the Oakland Raiders, the former Oakland Raiders, the Los Angeles Raiders, are making a big chance here because it could be a thing where it's just a matter of time before they get exposed, for doing this, this trade, because that's a lot of money that's on the table with picking him up, and dropping him and stuff. So it's a matter of time before something different happens. Mr. 512 says Dallas Cowboys are #1 America's team. Technically, yes, they are, but nobody really truly enjoys that team. An atheist for a cause then told you to screw off. Packers are America's team, bro. And I say both because I'm a Chicago Bears fan. So, I mean, I respect the Cowboys, but I respect the Packers a lot more because our battles with them are historic. The Chicago Bears and the Packers have a legendary feud in the NFL, for obvious reasons. We're both in the same conference. 512 says, haters will hate the Cowboys will be great. You got to come up with a saying to make yourself great, I guess, right? 6,000 says, is that a Dragon Ball Z poster? It is a Dragon Ball Z poster. Yes. Atheist Voter Call says, respect the Bears, hate the Vikings. Really? Nah. Well, I respect the Packers. I do not care for the Vikings, and I do not really care for the Lions. That's due to their history and everything. They don't have wins underneath their belts. They're not really two teams that you fear. And sometimes they're good, but like last year, the Vikings were unstoppable, untamable, undeniable, and they sucked at the end of the day. Get a ring, then talk. Bears have won a Super Bowl. Okay, they beat the Patriots back in '86. So shut your mouth. And secondly, I mean, they may not won a Super Bowl recently, but actually, if you think about it, the Bears have had some of the most championship wins. They're one of the oldest teams in the NFL. So they may not won a Super Bowl lately, but neither have the freaking Cowboys. So we see where they're at. Destroyers Nation, welcome to the channel. If you guys would, all of the new people viewing this video, give me a big thumbs up for a little bit of encouragement. Also, subscribe to the channel for more NFL content. I will try to come up with different content for the NFL as well as closer we get to the year of the season for the 2017 NFL season as well. Atheist for the Cause says AJ Green and John Ross are going to be a sick combination for Cincinnati. Yes, AJ Green is probably most certainly going to be back for this upcoming year after dealing with multiple injuries last year, and I'm excited about seeing what concurs in the upcoming year with those two being on the same team. Two top wide receivers. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens and what transpires. They need to also worry in Cincinnati about getting some running backs. I know they have some good running backs in Giovanni Bernard and multiple others, but the structure needs to be stronger, I guess. You need to be on a focal point of making both just equally as strong. Making their defense is also a factor as well, because letting teams like the Steelers, score and such is not really the smartest maneuver at all. Just since 6,000, Atheist for the Call says, is it actually proper because I'm saying Green and Ross are a combination, not two separate groups? I know what you're talking about. They're two different players. John Ross was just drafted by them. So, yeah, at number 9. Tom Wilson, welcome to the channel. Tom Wilson says, what is your opinion on the Jaguars? They're going to win. I already went over this a little bit, Tom, but I'll go back over it. I believe that the Jaguars are going to do much better with running backs such as Leonard. They needed a top running back anyway to make themselves more pronounced. Somebody that can make plays right away instead of waiting for someone else to do something like a wide receiver does or a tight end. I'm excited about their future, but they always have to think their number one threat. Most people would say that it's the Texans, but I would say actually the Titans are the number one threat this year going into the next. And also, I mean, the Tennessee Titans have built their legacy around so many new players, younger athletes and everything. And, we have to wait and see how that transpires. The Colts, they're stuck in neutral right now. I mean, they're not doing anything that's really fancy or anything. And I mean, so 6,000, you're done. Dan, Chicago Bears for the win. I would most certainly be okay with that. We're just going to have to wait and see how everything transpires. If that trade with the 49ers was a smart move or if it was a stupid move, going to have to wait and see, because they did trade a lot of things for Mitchell from North Carolina. He is a very talented quarterback, but trading 5 different picks away for him is a little risky, and it's high reward, high offense. And, most certainly I am a Chicago Bears fan, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Sit back and watch how this unfolds. If you guys would like to slap that like button up for more content, also subscribe for more content as well. I'm going to continue talking about the draft. So anyways, the Tennessee Corey Davis is good long-term. Corey Davis is currently injured, as I've been informed. Yeah. So Timothy Turner says, much love from Cali, but I got to go to work. Please go live again after the draft. We'll wait and see. Probably will. I might do this again. I don't know if I'll go live after the draft, like Saturday night when the draft's all concluding, but I will probably go live multiple times next week. And one of my videos next week will probably be over the NFL and recap of the draft itself. Dan says, I've got faith. Have you? I do have faith in my team. A lot of the analysts that I have watched today have said the Chicago Bears picked the worst quarterback out of the 3 that were selected. I disagree. I think that they have the most hope out of Mitchell than the Chiefs do, or that the Texans do. I think the Texans and the Chiefs, the only thing going for those 2 teams is they're going to a team that was already built strong the year before. So they only can go down from there, okay, pretty much. Or they can move up a little bit and win the Super Bowl or something. But, I don't exactly know why they're saying that. There's pretty much probably saying that because the Chicago Bears made such a hostility type of, trade there, and a very crazy trade at the very exact time. Atheist for the Call says, Mitchell is my #1. I'm guessing you enjoy his work. He's a very good quarterback, like I said before. Scott says, who is the best NFL team this year? Going on wins and losses and stuff, I would have to say the New England Patriots since they won the Super Bowl. But in my personal opinion, the best team this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, were one of the better teams from last season. Antonio Brown, they had D'Angelo Williams, but D'Angelo Williams now has gone to, I believe he's now part of the Browns as well. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he is. And then they also have LaBelle. The Steelers, in my opinion, were the best team last year, but they didn't get as far as I wish they would have. Moving right along, pick number 6 was from the New York Jets. The New York Jets have to fix a lot of things within their franchise. They have to find a new quarterback, young studs on their team, but they have to make sure that they are the kind of quarterback that they want to make their team after. Jets are not really a team that I fantasy over, not a team that I am here to root for by any shape of the imagination. Picked up Jamal Adams, a safety. I think Jamal Adams is definitely going to help the team grow, but I'm a determining factor on how well the Jets do is who else they pick up, what else they do in the NFL draft that will make them stand out. Because again, the Jets are competing against the Dolphins, the Bills, and the New England Patriots. The Jets were the worst. They have to worry about the Patriots overall, but they also have to worry about the Dolphins. Those two teams last year were good, top-notch teams. You have to worry about those teams most certainly, but I would consider that the Jets just need to be good enough to beat the Patriots. Ryan Fitzpatrick's time in the Jets territory is done. It's completely over. Geno Smith is also gone, so they just have to repackage, redevelop, and they have to come up with a new plan to take over. Now, Jamal Adams is a safety, so he's going to help establish the team with more of a firm base. And I think that he can do that, but he's going to have some other moving parts to make it an accurate source of information rather than lost in translation. So it's all on who else they draft at this particular stage. We're at number 7, and they drafted Mike Williams from Clemson University, wide receiver. Now, recently, the Chargers last year had some of the worst luck with injuries because they continuously had players get injured, and they had players get put out because of ACL tears and stuff. Players now are gone because of free agency, and they were good players, but injuries and such, and then also they're expired. So Mike Williams. Mike Williams is a good athlete, very fast on his feet. He's one of the top wide receivers in the league. And as you noticed, already 3 wide receivers are completely gone. So Mike Williams, top candidate. I think wide is going to go up this year and do very well in their new home. And I'm very excited about their future. I like the Chargers. I enjoy the Chargers. But the Chargers also need to figure something more about their quarterback position because Phillip Rivers, he's good, but Phillip Rivers is an average quarterback. He's like a Tony Romo. You only can put so much stock in the guy before he collapses. Now, he's like Tony Romo in the same sense that they can't go past the playoffs, but he's different in the sense of Tony Romo that he doesn't get injured too often. He deals through injuries. He's a bigger quarterback, and he's very good at what he does. And with somebody like a Mike Williams, a guy who's quick on his feet and a guy who can adjust easily to different things, that I'm thinking that the Chargers are going to charge themselves up and they're going to go straight and they're going to do good things. Hopefully they continue with their momentum and draft other key players as well. Marie says hit and miss at least one of these 3 will be a good player. and at least one will be a bust. Which first-round quarterback will not be in the league in a matter of time? I think at this time it's too early to tell of the whole situation. Let me see. I would actually say the quarterback that the Chiefs drafted was the one who's going to be a bust because, what's his name? Patrick Mahomes. I think he's just going to be a freaking flop, and I don't think he's going to do near as good things as what Mitchell or what Watson's going to do. I think that, the Chiefs basically picked him up to make things sound interesting, but the funny thing about this is they traded for him. Just like the Chicago Bears, they traded for him, but they didn't trade as many picks. So a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, this guy's good. Now, the thing going for Patrick Mahomes is that he has bigger arms, so he can throw farther than Mitchell, or he can throw farther than Watson. But I don't think he's, in the long-term run, I don't think he's going to be as accurate as the other two quarterbacks. Scott says, what do you think about the New York Yankees? I don't really care for the New York Yankees. First of all, I'm more of a Chicago fan, so the Cubs. But I personally am always rooting for the Cubs. The New York Yankees are one of the most hated, diverse teams ever out there. That goes back, to the beginning of, baseball days. But I'm not really much of a fan of theirs at all. I wish they lose. I'm just not much of their fan because they've won so many games and everything, We're going to go to the next person, which is number 8. Which number 8 came from the Carolina Panthers, who drafted Christian McCaffrey from Stanford University at running back. The Panthers do have a couple running backs that are top-notch performers, but the Panthers needed another one because some of their running backs currently are getting older and also getting injured quite a lot. That's a factor with running backs. Their time tendencies in the NFL doesn't really last as long as what people intend them to last. Christian will probably do halfway decent in the Panthers locker room. He'll probably be doing very good things on the field, on and off the field. And I personally believe that Christian's going to make the Panthers a better established team. Their quarterback gets himself into trouble just as well as what Colin Kaepernick did. Cam Newton has a lot of potential and a lot of upside going for him. He just had surgery, so we're just going to have to wait and see how that works out. But he's an explosive quarterback that can go out there. And 2 years ago, he was actually at the Super Bowl. He did lose the Super Bowl, but it was a thing, and it's a huge accomplishment for him to actually make it to the grand stage. And I think that Christian is going to be a factor that's going to help them win some plays, win some games, and make a big impact going forth. I wish them the best of luck with that, The Bengals drafted John Ross from Washington University, wide receiver. John Ross is one of the wide receivers that people are talking about and speculating that is pretty good at what he does with everything that he has done so far. The Cincinnati Bengals last year were an awful team with injuries just like the San Diego Chargers that kept popping up out of nowhere. A player this week gets hurt, then next week somebody else gets hurt and such like that. So having a fresh face come into the division to sort of help them out along the way. And I know they do have A.J. Green that is currently with the team as well, but A.J. Green is getting up there in age. And wide receivers are just sort of similar to running backs. Their time tendency in the NFL is not near as long as what people intend them to be. They would rather see them last 10 to 12 years, but they can't. They're intentionally running all the time. They're intentionally running to try to make plays and try to win big games. So their time tendencies in the NFL doesn't really last near as long. So I personally believe that John Ross is definitely going to help the Bengals become more successful. And he's also one of the top wide receivers from college that was drafted in the first round. So I'm happy that he went to the Bengals. I'm happy that the Bengals are doing things that are a little bit different, a little bit catchy with this whole thing. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this turns out for them. I'm just being hopeful and faithful that something different transpires for them. Number 10 was originally the Bills, but a trade happened, and the Chiefs were number 10. And they drafted Patrick Mahomes from Texas Tech University at quarterback. And they've already stated that they didn't draft this quarterback for reasons that a lot of other quarterbacks would draft other teams would draft a quarterback. They drafted this guy because they want to train him possibly for the future. Possibly for the future. The funny thing is they traded for this pick. They traded the Bills for this pick, which is weird and is also a huge risk. Patrick Mahomes is a guy that has a big arm and he can throw quite far. And he's very good at what he can do. However, it's a little up in the air of what he can actually produce. Okay, so I personally do not think that this is actually a good selection. I think that they made a bad selection for their first pick, but I think they're trying to, because Alex Smith is not. He's not the worst quarterback. He's not the best quarterback, but he is right in the middle. He's also getting up there in age, so it's a factor of how much more time does he have left, for everything else that's going on in his life. I believe with all my heart and everything that Patrick Mahomes is going to help the division out and everything, but I think he's going to be something similar as what Jared Goff was, where he's going to be this tremendous guy who was good in college, was tremendous and everything, but then when it turns out, when he actually starts playing and stuff, he's not near as good as what people anticipated. And Jared Goff didn't really get his shot and get his opportunity as much as people wanted him to, but at the end of the day, they look at one opportunity and they say, do you have it or do you not have it? They don't say, well, we're going to give you 55 shots, and if you make 30 of those shots, we're going to be cool with you. If you don't make it the first time, they're just not going to be with you at all. So me personally, I think that the Chiefs should have went with someone different for the first pick, but that's just me. The Saints were number 11, and the Saints selected Marshawn Lattimore from Ohio State University at cornerback. I'm personally thinking that this was a good selection. The Saints have picked up a lot of good players lately, a lot of good players, and they don't really need a certain amount of players. But cornerback is one of the offensively driven spots they do need. They also need to think about quarterback within the next couple of years, because Drew Brees, he's starting to come to the end of his age in that particular spot. And going off that, I mean, Marshawn Lattimore is a cornerback, so he's a very aggressive player, and he's always a player that you have to rely on to make big plays. And at this particular time, the Saints, last year, they were a team that did make big plays, but with Lattimore, they can make bigger plays and they can win matches. They win games. They can win championships with that kind of player. And I'm thinking that they're going to do big things with him, but it's all depending. It's just going back to what did I say? Where was he at? The Jets with Jamal Adams. That's similar to what that kind of pick is, because with this, it's similar to that in the attribute that it all depends on their other players that they select for the draft. Because the cornerback position is a big role and big positioning, but some of the most positions that are looked at are the wide receiver, the running back, the quarterback, and a few defensive positioning, and offensively defensive positioning. So to see if this is a position that helps or hurts the whole overall team itself. But I'm thinking that the Saints are going to do better than they did last year. They just have to worry about the Panthers and Christian McCaffrey and stuff like that going forth. And I think their biggest threat really has to be the Buccaneers at this particular stage, because the Buccaneers were their biggest threat last year, but in recent memory, it was the Falcons, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers. Last year it was the Buccaneers, and it was also the Falcons, who the Falcons made it to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But I'm personally hoping that they can, figure something out with this new cornerback, and they can start popping out some wins. Number 12 was originally the Eagles, who traded with the Browns, who then traded with the Texans. Ooh, the Texans actually traded with the Browns. So the Texans picked up Deshaun Watson from Clemson University at quarterback, which is a good pick. I think so. I think that he's a good pick due to the fact that the Texans are sort of in a rebuilding phase. Their quarterback that they had before has moved over to Cleveland Browns territory, and I don't really think that he's going to do much better over in Cleveland, but a lot of people have their doubts over there about that quarterback. I can't think of his name because he fucking sucks. He's awful. And I personally, I think that Deshaun Watson is going to do good things. TJ Rolls has said New York Giants all day. TJ Rolls, New York Giants are going to do very well this year. I know I'm not a big fan of the Giants, but they did some big trades before the draft itself. And I haven't gotten to them yet, but the Giants did pick up tight end Evan Ingram, in the first round of the draft, and I think they needed a tight end that was aggressive like Evan going forth. So I think the Giants are actually going to be a very doable threat this year and potentially could make it into the playoffs and then the Super Bowl. I hope that happens. I hope that does happen. But I obviously will go with the Chicago Bears over the Jets or the Giants any day of the week. So the Texans, they need Deshaun Watson because I guarantee you that Deshaun Watson is going to be the starting quarterback for this particular season. And out of the three quarterbacks, he probably has the biggest upside, but I think Mitchell's right in the mix, right in the middle. And then the least of these, where I don't think he's going to last more than a year. He'll probably last more than a year, but he'll always be a backup. So Deshaun Watson is probably going to be the starter quarterback for the Texans, and I'm excited to see what his potential is and how he does as a quarterback for their league. A lot of people have been saying that Bill O'Brien is going to do so much good with this guy that he's going to make this guy rise to the occasion and become something special. I don't see that. Bill O'Brien is okay as a coach, but I have more doubts than good about this particular coach. I think that the Tennessee Titans are going to be the team that steals that division this upcoming year, and then the Texans are probably going to come in second place. This past year should have went to the Titans too, but injuries happened to Mariota and other players, and it's sort of mainly Mariota, but the Texans just stole that thing, and then they won first round in the playoffs, and they lost. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Week 8 is really determining factor of what can happen. But Watson could be another quarterback that's just a standout, in the regular season. The Cardinals went at number 13. Arizona Cardinals selected Hanson Reddick from Temple University, I'm guessing. Linebacker. Not really a standout pick at all. He's really more of a pick that people forget a lot because linebacker is not really one of the more appropriate roles that people always want to get. But do I think that he's going to help the Arizona Cardinals? Probably a little bit. But again, this is a type of role or type of positioning that is going to determine the future of the team by the other picks that are made by that particular team. So I don't know how many picks the Arizona Cardinals have during the draft. TJ Roll says, I consider it a bad call in my opinion. That Evan Ingram, a tight end for the Giants' first pick, being a bad pick. It might be a bad pick, but I'll get to that in a second. I really I really think that the Giants picking Evan Engram isn't as good as it could be, because there's a lot of potential in wide receivers and running backs that are currently still available that do just as much as the tight end position does, you know? So I don't really see that Evan's going to do anything different, and I think there's a lot of players out there that are better suggestions and better candidates for that particular role rather than him himself. But that's just my opinion. Now, back to Arizona Cardinals, I think that the linebacker position, it all depends on who else they draft. So if they draft some other linebackers and some defensive players and stuff like that, the team actually might be halfway decent, but it all depends on who they draft and why they draft them. Because at this particular stage, if this is their only player that they draft this whole entire season, say their drafts only had one round, they failed. They failed miserably, because he's not necessarily one of the standouts in the draft itself, okay? Now, he's a good linebacker. He's a good standout linebacker, but that just by itself is not standout worthy. Number 14 was originally the Vikings, but they made that huge trade with Sam Bradford involved, which was a screw-up. And the Eagles are now number 14, so they picked up Derek Barnett from Tennessee University at defensive end. Good defensive end. Again, he's not really one of the best defensive ends that are in the part of the draft, but did the Eagles need somebody like him to sort of persuade the team in a better manner? Most certainly they did. They needed something to the road a little bit. Now, I don't necessarily think that he's going to be a standout defensive end. I think there was some down the list here that were much better defensive ends than he is. And I think the risk here is the Eagles picked up so many good players, as did the Giants. The Giants and the Eagles picked up so many good players from that foursome that people were considering the Eagles to be a huge threat. But the Eagles just picked up a defensive end that's just okay. And there's much other defensive ends, in my opinion, that are better than Derek. But we're just going to have to wait and see what he has, because what he's shown in college and what he shows actually in the NFL are two opposite things. At number 15, the Colts selected Mr. Hooker. Mr. Hooker, a safety from Ohio State University. This one right here also shocked me a little bit, because I had so much hope and consideration for the Colts to select someone like a wide receiver or a defensive end or something that would help the future of the Colts in Indianapolis. But they selected a safety, which there's nothing wrong with selecting a safety in the first round. But I don't think that this is the best pick whatsoever. I think they could have picked someone that's more diverse and someone that helps the team grow a little bit more and protect the quarterback. Because a lot of teams that have problems protecting the quarterback, but if you notice, a lot of the teams that have had problems with that, like the Cleveland Browns and the 49ers and a few other teams, they have selected people to help protect the quarterback. The Colts are selecting a safety, and it really doesn't help manifest any protection for the quarterback, and so you're sort of left up in the air. So I'm not exactly sure what to think about this. We're just going to have to wait and see how he does, but I wish him all the best. Number 16 came from the Baltimore Ravens. Marion Murphy from Alabama University. Cornerback again. I think that the Ravens sort of need someone like this to sort of make them branch out and become something a little bit different and a little more edgy. They did okay last year. The likes of the Steelers, the Browns, and the third team, I can't fucking remember. But if I look through this fucking list, I'd probably see him. Maybe. Maybe not. Let's see. The Bengals. That's it. So, I mean, me personally, I think that the Ravens did okay with their picks and everything. To tell you the quite honest truth, they needed someone like a cornerback to try to give them that extra, pull against teams like the Steelers, because their defense last year was untouchable, undeniable, untamable, and they just had something. TJ Roll says, subscribe to Extreme Blogs, everyone. I only have 3 people in the box right now. I don't think I have. I think I probably have the same amount of subscribers I had before, TJ. So TJ Roll says, I'm going to give you the gift of NFL. Make the touchdown, man. TJ Roll says, ooh, Cleveland Browns suck. Cleveland Browns probably will increase their odds. Next year, they'll probably be like 10th or 15th in the draft or something. So they'll probably do a lot better, which is good. Got to always increase your odds. So anyways, back to the Ravens. I think that this is good. I think that they'll become a better team on the field, and also have that little extra edge against teams like the Steelers, who the Steelers beat them in the final game to determine who went to the playoffs. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens there. Number 17th went to the Washington Redskins, who drafted Jonathan Allen from Alabama University, defensive end. Jonathan Allen is probably one of the better defensive ends. Here's a good example of a defensive end that the Eagles should have drafted. Jonathan Allen. So Jonathan Allen is a top aggressive guy, and he's most certainly going to make the Redskins look much better than they did last year. And, TJ, you should know all about those Redskins. I personally want to see the Redskins do well. Jonathan Allen is most certainly going to make that capable for them. So I'm excited about that, because Jonathan Allen's one of the most talented defensive ends out there in the world today, and he's going to make big plays. He's going to do big actions, and he's going to make that team look really good by knocking the hell out of the other quarterback on the other team. TJ Roll says, I can't stand the Patriots, bunch of cheating pricks. The Patriots might be cheaters, but they have one of the best records in the NFL with everything that's going on, and all that good stuff. And they get the superstars that they need in order to win games. TJ Roll says, why didn't you give me McDonald's, sir? I'm hungry. Why don't you get your own freaking McDonald's, kid? Try not to cuss and curse in my videos. And even though none of my videos have been unmonetized or anything like that, my wrestling videos or my other stuff like that, I'm just trying to be more clean in my videos and try to be more, more PG, I guess. Even though my videos haven't been unmonetized, none of my wrestling videos have for anything. I've done pretty good for myself. All right. So Jonathan Allen's going to most certainly make the Washington Redskins look really good. TJ Roll says, do you do fantasy drafts blogs? I do usually do 8 to 10 different fantasy football drafts, because I like having fun with the shit. So doing drafts with my friends, doing drafts with people I go to church with, doing drafts with people I work with, doing about 8 to 10 of them. That's probably what I do. And we could probably do one for here on YouTube. So TJ Rules, Zargon7, myself, maybe Hill DJ, a few different people. We could probably do that. All right, so TJ, you should like this video, especially since you're trying to get me subscribers. Maybe you should subscribe on multiple different accounts. Maybe that would work out best. Moving on. The Titans at number 18. Titans' second pick in this draft. The first team going twice. They picked Mr. Jackson from USC. Now I say Mr. Jackson with the best apologies, because I can't pronounce your first name, but he's a cornerback as well. The Titans' first pick, let me just remember who that was. I can't really remember. Oh yeah, it was Corey Davis, a wide receiver. So their first 2 picks, you got a wide receiver and you got a cornerback. I think that they're doing really well with their picks. Okay, I think the Titans are going to be a huge threat this upcoming year. They're going to do big things, and they're definitely going to be a force in that division. I think the Colts are probably going to have the worst record, probably going to have 2nd overall freaking pick in the draft next year, which makes me smile because I freaking can't stand that team. But they're awful. They're drafting players that they shouldn't draft like normal, and they're not picking up anybody to help their team out look any better. The Jaguars have drafted good players so far, or good players so far. The Texans have drafted good, and the Titans have drafted phenomenal players. The Titans, Mr. Jackson, the cornerback, I don't really know much about him, but I'm assuming that he's going to help the team out at least a little bit to make the team look at least halfway decent. Number 19 was the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They drafted O.J. Howard from Alabama University, and he's a tight end. Most of the time, there's not really a whole bunch of standout tight ends that make the team look especially well deserving to hold that particular prize. O.J. Howard makes the Buccaneers look special. And last year, the Buccaneers didn't do too shabby. They actually made it to the playoffs, and they did a halfway decent job with everything that, so yeah. I'm not really a huge fan of the Buccaneers, but I think that they have the potential that's, there for them to achieve greatness. And selecting a tight end in the very first round is a little up there in the air, because in my first round, I would probably pick either defensive end, offensive end, player, quarterback, running back, or wide receiver. I don't think tight end, cornerback, and some of the other plays would necessarily be on my picking board for those in the first round. They'd have to be really fucking good for me to do that. So that's the only thing I have to say about the Buccaneers. They picked a tight end, and he's not necessarily one of the better tight ends in the draft. Not saying that there is any tight ends that are especially good or anything like that, but I just think that it's a thing where there was no tight ends that were especially good. There was running backs and there was wide receivers that were much better. So I think the Buccaneers should have went with a wide receiver or a running back rather than a fucking tight end who does pretty much almost the exact same stuff. Number 20 was the Broncos. Drafted Garrett Bulls from Utah University. Offensive tackle, to protect your quarterback. Again, some teams should take this under consideration because they don't protect their quarterback enough. Some of those teams, like the Browns, have taken steps to help their quarterback, as well as the Broncos. Now, the Broncos are not a team that have a horrible defense. Their offense last year was a little lackluster, but Trevor Siemian definitely has a little bit of help here because of what's going on with them drafting Mr. Garrett, offensive tackle. That's great because that's going to protect the quarterback, and that's going to make the quarterback look better. But would I have drafted him in the first round? Probably not. I probably would have waited till the second or third round to actually draft him, because in the first round it should be about the key players and players that are going to be taken. And I don't personally think that there's too many people going for him. But if he's an offensive line person that is just so incredible and so forceful that he makes a team look better, you've already won the game. TJ Roll says, especially Brady with 5 rings. Yeah, he's the only quarterback with 5 rings, so you could consider him one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But that's all up to debate. You can't just say, you have 5 rings, you're the greatest quarterback of all time, because that's not how this works. TJ Roll says, I think you should do monetization when you reach a certain amount of views and subscribers, at least 10,000 at tops, and then you'll make enough money to make a living. You have all this planned out. I actually have all my videos already monetized. Every single video that I have is monetized. None of my videos have been demonetized except that one I did on the shooting that happened a couple years ago, at least a year ago. I did a video on that. They demonetized the video. Because it's on a fucking shooting. It's not a video that's like, on something positive, something joyful. It's on a shooting, so I can understand why they did that. But besides that, none of my wrestling videos have been demonetized. None of my videos have been unmonetized besides that video alone. So Zargon7 saying that YouTube's doing all this stuff to him and some other wrestling channels, I think they're talking about wrong topics. Do not talk about topics that don't enjoy you or make you happy and smile. Talk about topics that make you happy. Talk about topics that make you smile and enjoy life. That's why I talk about wrestling. That's why I talk about football. That's why I talk about other things. I don't talk about things that are newsworthy because YouTube may take them down. And yeah, I monetize everything. But you know, like this video alone has already got 9 likes, but it probably hasn't gotten tons of views. So, but that's fine. Next goes to the Detroit Lions at number 21. They drafted Jared Davis. Jared Davis from Florida University, linebacker. Again, I don't know if I necessarily would have drafted him in the first round, but the Lions sort of need something more to make them stronger unit. So drafting something like him will most certainly help out. And also, the Lions they have the okay offense, okay defense, but this sort of helps them out a little bit and makes them, you know, their defense and offense sort of move up just a little bit. Number 22 went to the Miami Dolphins, drafting Charles Harris, offensive linebacker from Missouri University. I think this is all right of a selection. You know, the Dolphins definitely need something to take out the Patriots and lay them to waste. And I believe that this most certainly is going to be something that can definitely do that to halt the Patriots and all their momentum. Number 23 was the New York Giants, drafting Evan Ingram from Mississippi University. He's a tight end. I think this is an okay selection. But again, I think that some of these teams are getting it confused with drafting players that they want and drafting players that they think will be good. But I think there should be a fine line between drafting players that you need and drafting good players that you need. Like Evan Ingram is not a bad player. He's a good player. He's all right. But again, tight ends are not necessarily the thing that I would draft in the very first round due to all the implications that happen sometimes when you draft these types of players. Number 24 went to the Raiders, drafting Conley from Ohio State University at cornerback. A lot of cornerbacks are going in the first round this year, which is pretty good, I guess. I think he's going to do well. The Raiders have made a lot of big moves, including picking up Marshawn Lynch as of late as a running back. So they just need a few more things to sort of give them that extra boost and that extra momentum that they need to make their team even better. So I'm excited about that. Now, overall, though, for that pick, I do not think that he's going to be a dramatic change because I think there was other players that were available that were better than him for that particular role. Then the Browns, from number 25, with their trade with the Texans, picked up Mr. Peppers from Michigan University as a safety. This safety right here is explosive. He's a player that you want to have on your team, and he's a player that you need to have on your team because he's so good, and not good in a way that is arrogant or pompous or anything like that, but he's good in a way that is sort of, not sort of, but it is just right on target, and he's really good at what he does. So the Browns, again, picking up their second player during this particular draft. There is one more that they picked up. And I think they're doing good so far. The defensive player they picked up, Myles Garrett, really good. And Mr. Peppers, a safety, another great player to try to build them up. Because that's the key. You got to build them up, make them look strong. Now they need a good fucking running back to make them look actually eligible to, you know, be a threat to the other teams in their division. Because at the end of the day, you have to win games. And if you can't win games, then how can you win the Super Bowl? Number 26 went to the Falcons, who did a trade with the Seahawks. They got McKinley. I can't pronounce your first name. Sorry about that. McKinley from UCLA, defensive end. This is great. The last year, Falcons A lot of people complain because the Falcons had a horrible defense, the worst defense of all time. I don't necessarily think that was a case, but I do think that they had a missed opportunity, and they were uneducated in multiple different fields and everything. So I think that they have a bigger shot here of gaining momentum by drafting a defensive end that can help them be explosive and help them win games, more games than they did last year. And potentially this, if they do make it back to the Super Bowl for a repeat, if they do, then they have this guy to help them along the way, because that could stop the Patriots this year. Like if we have a rematch between the Patriots and the Falcons this year, they will most certainly stop them with their new machine, McKinley. Number 27 went to the Bills, who, their trade early in the night with the Chiefs. The Bills picked up, Mr. White from LSU, cornerback. Not a bad pick, but you could have went a lot better, for your money here. But the Bills really need a cornerback to sort of give them that extra edge against certain teams. They're sort of in the same ballpark as the Dolphins. They were pretty good, but they just at the end of the season they started falling apart. And with their new coaching system and everything, it's sort of we'll figure out what's going on with the actual team itself. Number 28 was the Dallas Cowboys, drafting Taco Carlton from Michigan University, defensive end. I think that he was a good pick. I think he's going to make the team look good. And their defense last year was good. Now, most certainly. I'm excited about their future, and maybe if they make it to the playoffs, they can make it to the Super Bowl itself, which a lot of people don't want to see happen, but if it happens, it happens. Number 29 goes to the Browns, who did a trade with the Packers, or the Packers did a trade with them, but this is their third pick already in the freaking draft. So they already get the third pick, and they pick up David Njoku from Miami University as a tight end. So they pick up a defensive end, they pick up a safety, and they pick up a tight end. So I think they're doing really good, their numbers and everything. And they have a lot of potential. But again, you need a running back or a wide receiver to make things more eligible. So I think I would have went with a defensive end, a tight end, or a defensive end, a running back, or a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns as their third pick. I don't think I would have went with the tight end that they selected, because I don't think they're going to use him nearly as much as they think that they're going to use him. Number 30 went to one of their arch nemesis. The Steelers picked up T.J. Watt, who's the brother to J.J. Watt, which is funny how that works out. He's an offensive linebacker from Wisconsin. I think this is going to work out perfect for the Steelers. The Steelers are just getting better and better as the years progress. So we're just going to have to wait and see how that escalates. And the final pick for the first round went to the Saints, taking the Patriots out of, even having a pick in the first round, which a lot of people are happy about that. Or no. I missed the 49ers. The 49ers get another pick. They get the second pick, and they get the second to last pick, I guess. So originally that was the Falcons pick. Then they traded with the Seahawks. Then the Seahawks traded with the 49ers. So the 49ers picked up Reuben Foster, who's currently dealing with an ankle injury, and he's also dealing with failing drug test. So this right here is a little bit of concern, because the 49ers, you shouldn't have picked him up due to that very reason alone. Failing drug test is not good, because he may be suspended for 3 to 4 games at the beginning of the season, which may come to a little bit of controversy here, but I don't think he should play due to that very reason alone. And then the last pick, the Saints picked up Ryan Ramczyk from Wisconsin, offensive tackle. This is good. The Saints just keep making their team stronger and stronger as the years progress. So I don't think I'm going to do a recap of round 2 to 6. But I will do more NFL videos in the near future, talking about more NFL. And I think what I'm going to do is actually hop off here and start a wrestling live stream where I can try to connect with more people. What the? All right, sorry about that. Anyways, I'm going to hop off here, and then I'm going to start a live stream in a matter of moments talking about professional wrestling until 9 something. So anyways, until next time, be extreme, stay extreme, and continuously subscribe to my channel and subscribe to other people's channels that are wrestling and NFL related. If you know anybody that would like to watch this video, share it to their Facebook, their Twitter, or anything like that, and I will most certainly check out the video as well. I will most certainly love it to hear back from you guys. Anyways, you guys take care. It's been a pleasure entertaining all of you, or talking about NFL stuff. Until next time, be extreme, stay extreme, and like always, stay cool. And enjoy yourself. Enjoy your weekend.